Hello, and welcome to the Great Movie Podcast. And my name is Caleb, and this is
Noah, how's it going, guys? We are back for our third episode, which is really cool. I'm pretty excited. Second episode just dropped last Monday when this comes out. Pretty cool. It was all about the best movie composers in the business. So check that out if you didn't watch it. Also, if you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. Trying to make it to 1,000 subscribers. That's the first goal for us. So the more the merrier. Hit that subscribe button, and then while you're down there, turn on post notifications. Hit that little bell. The post notifications will let you know. Yeah, there you go, just like that. Let you know when we drop new content, whether it's shorts or a live stream. We might do a couple of those, and then as well as our full length podcast. So yeah, I'm excited. What are we talking about today?
okay. So I'm super excited to do this podcast today and I'm also kind of sad because we lost a giant in Robert Redford a few days ago. So this is just a retrospective of his career, and we're gonna hit on a bunch of stuff. We're gonna miss on a bunch of stuff, and that's fine because he has, gosh, I mean, Noah, how many decades of work does he have?
So many, like 3 or 4. I mean,
No,
he's
no, no. Like we're talking like 6 or 7 Like he started in the somewhere in the '60s, I think, and so like '60s, '70s, '80s, '90s, aughts, teens. He made a movie like 3 years ago or
I'm
something.
talking about three of like just in my lifetime, like three. Like he's been like just the amount of movies in that, not just because you have there's some actors that like do like the greatest movie in like back in the day, and then when they do other movies, it just kind of falls off. Like
Right.
obviously he did some movies that like maybe weren't as good, but like in every decade that he made movies, he has a banger in every decade. It's not just like he made a couple movies throughout time.
Yeah.
Like he has like a great movie in this movie, a great movie in this era, a great movie in this era. Like he's a
Yeah.
legend.
And it wasn't like, because there are actors that um they dominate a genre.
Yeah,
They dominate
his first acting role, 1957.
so 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, aughts, teens, whatever we're in now.
So you're talking
Eight
8
decades.
decades
That's
of films.
crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
What was it? What you're looking up? What was his first couple of films
His first
in the
role,
'50s, early '60s?
his first role was on a TV show called Maverick with James Garner. It
Yeah,
was a
that was the
western.
original Western with, yeah.
Yes.
Oh wow, I
Yes.
didn't even know that.
Yeah, he was on one episode uh in 57. In 1960, there's a movie called Tall Story where his it stars Anthony Perkins and Jane Fonda, but his credit is basketball player.
Okay, so I just want to interject. Like anybody who's an aspiring actor, it's like Robert Redford, who is basically like this timeless, amazing actor. At one point, was like someone like some casting director was like, "Okay, all we can give you is basketball player,"
Just
and
wait, just
and then
wait.
and then he built a career off of that. Whatever.
It gets better. There's a show, and I've never heard of this show. Couldn't have been very good. It's got a 5.4 on IMDb, but it's called Moment of Fear, and it stars William Shatner, so whatever, I'm kind of interested. But in one episode, he plays Stranger. These are the starts of a legendary career, friends. This
Hmm.
is this is what. Yeah, but it seems like he starts getting named roles in the early 60s. So like the late 50s to like mid 50s is like where he's getting like his like, oh, I was on camera, mom, you see me? That's the
Yeah.
back of my head, and then moves into like name roles where he's in like one episode of a TV show here and there. And then by the like late 60s, he's a little closer, and then boom, 69 is the big one.
Which is '69.
Butch Cassidy and the Sundance
Oh,
Kid.
oh, by the way, I have to say, for you, the audience, everything. I was like, I was looking at his filmography and I wanted to like, do him justice and the whole thing. And then I was like, wait. that reminds me of something. And then I realized I had this, like an old VHS tape from like the late 70s, early 80s of Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. And it's like,
That's
you know,
awesome.
you have Robert Redford and obviously him pairing with Paul Newman, who they paired up a number of times, of course, and like just the it's like what was amazing about like, and they don't make a lot of like westerns now, but like I actually wrote well, I have like a whole big my table's covered in notes, but like uh what was great about westerns though, they don't make a lot of westerns now, but for a long time they were able to play with the genre so much in terms of like at first it was like, you know, oh, we're defending against Indians, and then it's like you know, so Civil War stuff, and then it was like World War One stuff, and like everything, and then like these two like sort of thieves, you know, that making a movie about this. It was just like it was one of the, I don't know, something about it struck me that it was before its time in terms of like there was humor and there was snark and there was like these two bank robbers that was like, you know, just doing this thing, and it was like it seemed like it was way ahead of its time for, you know, the genre.
For sure. And it's got serious elements, but it's also got so much humor. Like it's definitely a comedy. Like to me, it has one of the greatest uses of a bicycle
Oh,
in any film
that's right.
ever.
Yeah.
There's few films that have a good bicycle scene. And I know that's a weird thing to like kind of put on, but like there's that's an element of the film that I remember. I don't think I've seen it. I am due for a rewatch. I think I watched it maybe 2 years ago. Kirsten had never seen it, so we watched it together. But just there's he's on the bicycle to what's that song? Um,
I can't remember.
oh, I have to look it up now. I'm not gonna play the song for copyright reasons,
Yeah,
but
yeah, of
what's
course.
uh bicycle song? What is it called? That's the song. Yeah, raindrops, raindrops falling on my head. Yeah, yes, it's such a classic song, and and it's just nothing's worrying me. Like it's so good. Like,
Mhm.
but like you hear that song and you're not thinking Western. I don't think you're just.
No.
It's just like a good song. It's like and combination of that and a bicycle, and you listen to the lyrics and you're like, yeah, this guy's got it all. He's like, he's on a bicycle, dude. Like he's just vibing. Like
Yeah.
raindrops are falling on his head and he's
I don't
chilling.
and
Like that's
I don't remember movies really doing that too much before that.
no,
It was
no.
like it was like a scene within a scene. You know,
Mm,
because you had the movie, obviously, that like the guys are robbing the stuff and they're running around doing stuff, but like all of a sudden you had the bicycle scene in the music, and it was like it felt to me it felt like a scene within a scene, and like, and we get that now. It happens all the time with video games and everything else, movies, and
yeah.
but like back then it it was sort of just starting to do that. I don't know where it really started, maybe in
Yeah,
Europe.
because it's kind of a using that song and the bicycle. It's kind of a tonal shift, and then it shifts back into the movie because it's like if I'm remembering right, you're in the town at first. They're doing a bunch of gambling, and then they go to like their hideout house, and then there's the bike scene, and the bike scene is like he's just on the bike, and the song is playing, and it's like, oh,
Hmm.
this is nice, and then it goes back to the movie, and then like, and so it's that out of like it's almost out of time because you know that song is not like, and we touched on this last episode where like I was talking about it how like in real life there's no soundtrack to your life,
Yeah, yeah,
but especially there's no, if there was a soundtrack it wouldn't be a soundtrack with a song that's not from your time period.
yeah, yeah.
And so that part of the movie is like there's a song playing that like is not from the old
It's
west.
not from 18 what,
No,
you know, 75 or
no.
whatever it was.
No, and you're just watching this guy on a bicycle to what was then a modern pop song.
And I think that's what everyone was playing with, because okay, you had like a whole bunch of movies made over the 30s, 40s, 50s, whatever, and then they started kind of messing with stuff a little bit, and not
And it
everything worked, but like that really worked.
and it I'm sure there were instances where that was kind of used beforehand, but it has been used a lot since then where they do like a montage or something's happening and it's just to a song. A perfect example, we talked about this 2 episodes ago, the Guardians movies. They
Yeah,
have so
yeah.
many, there are so many scenes that are just to a pop song that like, oh, I love this song. Like Mr. Blue Sky, this is great. And they're beating
Hmm.
up aliens the whole time.
Yeah.
And it takes you out of the movie, but you're still in the movie, but you're out of the movie.
Hmm.
And it's like, it's interesting. I like it. They use it to
And
good
and
effect.
and I think maybe I can't remember if we touched on it on that pod, but like there are certain like you could say it's director or it's the music producer or whatever but like some of them do it like really really subtly and well, and some of them like they throw it in there, it doesn't work because everyone tries to do it now, and it's like okay, that's just it's like a okay, yeah, you obviously you've seen the Shawshank Redemption, and
Yes.
during the Shawshank Redemption, when Andy Dufresne he's working for the
And a new
library,
friend.
and he what's that?
And a new friend.
Andy Dufresne. He walked through 100,000 miles of etc. But like, so he's allowed to be like a little more like mobile, and he goes into the office, and then he like locks the guy out, and he finds a record that he plays of like I believe it's like the two what is it, the two hummingbirds or the two whatever, and it's like but it's a duet of these two opera singers, and it technically, I don't know if it's quite the same era of the prison, but it's like it's a window into time, and there's a voiceover by Morgan Freeman, and the whole thing is absolutely stunning and beautiful and amazing. And like, but that's the same thing. It's like using a little bit of a like because the rest of the movie, aside from a couple of little bits, it's just a soundtrack, which is amazing soundtrack. But
Yeah.
like that one little clip is just this beautiful aria that is sung, and it shouldn't be there, and it is there, and it works so well. And so I think when movie producers like or directors or whoever's in charge of making that decision, there's some of them that can just like really like knock it out of the
Yeah.
park.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really cool.
Oh, by the way, oh, go ahead. You go ahead. Yeah.
No, I was just gonna say, yeah, it's very interesting that like because we're doing this podcast about Robert Redford and it's because such a great actor, but he also the movies that he was in, he's also a good filmmaker. Like he made movies too, like a really good director.
Yeah.
And
You know.
um and I think the movies he was in as an actor do a lot for film that aren't just like, oh, he's like I was thinking the other day about George Clooney. Like George Clooney's in a lot of movies that are just like, yeah, it's George Clooney. This is fun. This is a good movie. But I've seen hardly any film with George Clooney where the movie is changing the genre somehow.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true. Yeah.
And Robert Redford did a lot of movies that either changed the genre or innovated something or changed or used some like the bicycle. We were just talking about it. Like it's a sequence that is so out of place for that kind of film. It's a Western. It's not a happy guy on a bicycle film.
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
yeah. So
I did want to add. So in the Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid movie. So you remember in the movie where the movie winds down and they're being hunted at the end, and like, and eventually they do the very famous scene. Spoiler alert for those who haven't watched the film, and it's been
yeah,
around.
if you haven't watched it, pause this, go watch it, and then come back and finish
Right.
the
It's like, okay, it's
podcast.
been around for 50 years. There's no spoilers at this point, or whatever, how many years. Um, so that took place in they supposedly they tracked them down to Bolivia, and they shot them and the whole thing, and they jumped off a cliff or whatever. I went to that place. Yeah. So years ago, not years and years ago, but like a number of years ago, I did a giant trip through South America, and I went through Bolivia, and I went to what's it called San Vicente, and which is like it's like dust and rock and hills and everything is brown and it's like the hills are like this and there's no vegetation, the whole thing. And I didn't even realize until I was in that town, and then I realized it was like, oh wait, this is where Butch and Sundance died. And I was like, what the
Wow,
hell? I
that's
hope
so
I can say
cool.
hell for YouTube. We need to bleep that out. I don't know. Sorry, YouTube. I was like, what the heck? I went and I did a big hike. And I think that's like I think I was at 3 or 5,000 feet up. And it was like really high elevation. I mean, the movie actually looks like that town. I was actually surprised because it was like, in the movie it's like just like rock and rubble and the whole thing. And that's what it looks like. There's nothing else there. There's no trees, there's no
That's
animals, there's
awesome.
no rivers. It's just this dry, terrible place. And and I remember I was asking
And
around and like I used my broken Spanish and I was like, I won't, I won't do my broken Spanish here because my Spanish now is even worse than it had been. But I was like asking around, like, de donde, Sundance. Like, oh my God, this is so terrible. But I wanted to find
that's
out
funny.
because they have a graveyard where they say they're buried in that
Wow.
town, and then there's like sort of like, and the weirdest thing is like, even though this is kind of a famous like duo, there's no signpost, there's nothing that marks where the whole thing happened. Like, I don't know.
Well, I mean, they're outlaws, so maybe they just were like, these guys are scum. We're not marking their death.
Well, also years later, I think it was Cassidy's sister or sister-in-law said he came back to the United States and like, so because there was like, I always wondered about that
So
because
there's
like,
some
okay,
embellishment on
because
this.
I've traversed from Colombia all the way to Argentina. That's a long way to go, and Bolivia's the most inhospitable place. And I was always thinking
Did
like,
did traveling there make you feel even more sad for these guys that that's where they died?
but here's my thought though. It's like, okay, I get that who was it? Who was the Pinkertons? I think were after them. Yeah.
Yeah,
So the Pinkertons were like, we're gonna get them, but like I don't know how it's like 6, 7, 10,000 miles. Like you give up, you
yeah.
lie, you say we killed them in Bolivia, and you never did.
Then
I'm
you
just
just
saying,
let
I don't know.
let everything die themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I just know that, like being there in modern times, like getting there, like they're on a horse. You imagine how long it took to go from Colombia to Bolivia on a horse? It took me months to go from Bolivia to Colombia on a bus.
that's
So
crazy.
anyway, yeah. But we can go from like Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid. I would like to talk about one of, I think, maybe the best caper movies of all time, which is The Sting.
The Sting.
The Sting. And I
Yes,
would also like to say I also found The Sting on VHS.
that's cool.
I mean, it's
Look
worth
at
all of
you.
like $4, but still, it's super cool.
It'd be worth $10 if you could find something to play it with.
I have.
Oh, you have a VCR.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
so it's worth $10 now,
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
sure.
But again, this is Robert Redford teaming up with Paul Newman and Robert Shaw, who plays the bad guy in it. Who, those who don't know, Robert Shaw is the captain from Jaws. Just saying.
Man, Robert Shaw's great.
Yeah.
Such a good actor. We could do a whole Robert Shaw podcast, I think, at some point.
Yeah, that'd be fun. Yeah, that'd be
He's
great.
so good. And I think we have to do a Paul Newman one too, because he's got so many
Mm-hmm.
to highlight. But yeah, The Sting is so good. It's like, to yeah.
I mean, just that. I mean, I like, to the modern audience, maybe it doesn't mean a heck of a lot, but like to the audience for the last like 30, 40, 50 years, like that's just like, you know.
I need to rewatch. Kirsten's never seen it, and I keep trying to get her to watch it, and she's not against it, but she's got to be in the right mood for it.
For sure, yeah.
And we just haven't rewatched it. But that movie, I remember when I first watched it being in such suspense because the whole movie they're like on the edge of their toes trying to like evade everybody. and still keep their racket going.
Mm-hmm.
And it's crazy to me. The other thing I remember about this movie is, and I don't know why, but to me, the color scheme of the camera work really pops.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
There's an attention to like reds and blues. I don't know why, but the way the camera was set up, the colors really popped to me more so than any other film, and I was very like, whoa, these colors are really, and I don't know why, but that was something I noticed on my first watch of that
Well,
film.
well, what I would note, and maybe we can throw a couple of screen caps or something on the screen for this. But one thing that like that particular film was known for was the fashion. So
Yes.
yeah, so you had like Robert Redford who would show up in like a pinstripe suit and the right kind of fedora and the whole thing, and like Newman would show up in a certain thing, and then like for those, I mean, again, if you haven't seen the film, you really should.
Pause it, watch it, come back.
Pause and then like put it up on your Netflix queue or whatever, or go to the library if people have ever been to a library in the last 5 years.
Yeah.
Go try and rent
Or
something.
or get a homing pigeon and ask Caleb to borrow it because he has it on VA.
I'll send it to you. Like I have a large trust thing. I'll send it out. But like no, they because obviously in the film they're doing this thing, so they're like when you're trying to like fool someone with cards or a three count money or whatever, like, but they set up these elaborate things and they built these facades to fake like there's gambling going on. They're trying to like bring in the what they call whales, which is like big people with money. Not they're not big, they're just people with money. They're just in this day and age, you can't call anyone big or you'll be like canceled. Be like, oh my god, he's like fat shaming. No, they're called whales in Vegas. When you get a guy that has millions of dollars from wherever in the world, they're called a whale, and they bring them in and they give them all the bells and whistles and everything and get to them. But anyway, it is a fantastic movie, and I totally recommend it for anyone who has not seen.
Okay, so I did some research on the coloring because I was very curious of
Oh,
it.
okay.
It's filmed in color, obviously, but it's the 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 movie got a digital remastering not too long ago, so a lot of the sepia tone of the time was kind of not removed, but redesigned. So a lot of the colors pop more if you rewatch it now. So I don't know if your VHS would highlight. It's interesting because like VHS is very cool to hang on to because it's an actual tape. So you have a lot of like director's cuts that aren't available via tape because like Star Wars, if you watch the VHS of Star Wars, there's whole scenes that are completely different than they are now on DVD or on streaming, which is interesting. So, similarly with The Sting, it was remastered not too long ago, and they like, upped the color quality because the way it was filmed in the Technicolor had a sepia tone to it.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. The next film I think we should talk about, because I mean we're not going to talk about every film obviously, but like to me, like I said, the offset, like not every actor can hit all these different genres, but Redford was he was like a guy who could hit romance and people that are trying to like get money out of you and like bank robbers and all that. But the next one that like I think
Also, The Sting and Butch Cassidy both directed by the same director, by the way.
who was the director?
George Roy Hill.
Oh, okay, cool. I didn't know that. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so the next one
But
I wanted to
anyways, you were
bring up,
saying, sorry.
what's that?
You were saying, I
Oh
apologize,
yeah,
I cut you off.
I was just gonna bring up Jeremiah Johnson.
Mm,
Like,
that one's actually on my list. I don't believe I've seen that one.
oh, okay. So basically, it's what's interesting about the film is that it's considered a Western, sure. I don't really know the year, but I would imagine like they're putting it in the genre of like, or the time period of 1860s or 1850s, something like that. Like way, way back. And he just plays a guy, and there's no super big explanation for why he's doing it, but a guy who just goes and decides to live off the land way out in like a Montana or a Wyoming or wherever it is where you get like these giant winters and everything. And he's a guy that goes out there and grows a giant beard and just learns to survive based on who he's around, trappers and woodsmen and Native Americans. And it's like what it's like, and and for those who don't know him, you'll know him based on the
The meme.
the memes and the gifs and all the stuff. Yeah. So it's like
Most people, and if you don't know what we're talking about, you know the meme that you
just
send
like
your
this.
friends, the meme that you send your friends that you think is Zach Galifianakis. It's
Yeah.
not. It's Robert
Yeah.
Redford and
It's
Jeremiah
Robert
Johnson.
Redford. It's not Galifianakis.
But I remember a lot of people when he died, when Robert
Galifianakis
Redford,
died?
Zach,
Oh
no,
my God. You said it on the
Galifianakis is
podcast.
Galifianakis is alive. And
Oh,
when
okay.
Robert Redford died, they posted a bunch of those memes, and people were like, "That's not." They're like, "Zach Galifianakis died." That's one of my favorite internet memes ever. And this is a little bit of a sidebar, but when Nelson Mandela died, a lot of people posted Morgan Freeman, and
Oh my God. Of
they were
course.
like, "Rest
Yeah.
in peace."
Yeah.
And he tweeted out, and he was like, "I'm still alive, you dumb." But like,
I'm,
he's
I'm
like,
not, I'm not dead.
yeah, yeah.
No. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
like, and that's the thing is like, it's weird. It's like a movie that is a Western, but it's not like, there's not a lot of gunplay. There's not a lot of like, taking over a town or defending a town or all the different sort of like tropes that are in Westerns. It's just like a guy that goes and survives in the wilderness, and like somehow it has become this iconic, film over the years.
I've got a couple films because there's one I'm sure you'll want to talk about forever, but I've got a couple films before we get there.
I know
If you
the biggest film that I want to talk about, and maybe you'll bring it up, and then
Yeah, no, I'm gonna leave that one out because I know you're gonna bring it
yeah,
up,
okay,
and
yeah,
it's one of your favorite film, if not your favorite film. I don't know if it's your favorite, but it's
it's
close.
got to be a top five. Yeah.
You you found out I hadn't watched it, and you had me watch it, and it was one of the greatest experiences of my life. So I appreciate it. But we'll get to that. I wanted to bring up Kirsten and I watched this recently on a whim. Indecent Proposal, really good film. The subject matter is a little wild, but the acting is incredible. It's Woody Harrelson, Demi Moore, and Robert Redford, and it's like it's got the 90s vibe. Like I don't know how to describe
Which
what
is
the
the best
camera.
vibe, by the way.
It's the best vibe. I don't know what to describe the camera quality of the 90s, but there's a specific camera quality of 90s films that you only get from the 90s.
Yeah.
And that film is great. Robert
Well,
Redford
let me
plays.
interject. I think that is maybe because that's sort of the last time they stopped. The last they were using film then, and
Yes.
then it became digitized towards the end of the 90s. So somewhere in the 90s, a lot of that was still film. And I had friends that were doing film back in the day, and like I remember a buddy of mine who was a filmmaker, and he like opened up his fridge in his kitchen, and there were like reels of film in there that you have to store them in the fridge to keep the film okay to then use to use. And it's anyway,
Yeah.
I think there was something about all that. Anyway, yeah.
Yeah, it really, really, and that movie is interesting because not only is the subject matter interesting, I think it's a book too, but like just there's only a couple. I think because of his antics with Matthew McConaughey and his antics with weed, and just like who he is as a person. There's only a couple movies where Woody Harrelson really plays like a out and out serious role,
Yeah.
and this is a dramatic role for him because he's like a dude who's like trying to figure out his relationship with his wife and like what the heck is going on,
And
and
then
it's like
Redford
right,
comes in as like the
yeah,
multimillionaire playboy. Do you do
yeah.
a do you do a Woody?
I don't do a Woody yet.
Okay.
I know. I'm working on it,
For
but
those that don't know, Noah is a master impressionist, and he does, you know, 200 whatever
yeah,
plus.
we throughout the podcast and its history, both of us will do as many impressions as we have time for. So don't be
Yeah,
weirded
Noah,
out when
Noah
we
can
throw
do
some
two-
voices.
200 whatever plus. I can do 2 plus. I can do
He
like
does more than that.
there's some ones I can do of like a Gimli or you know, there's a few I can do, but like
Yeah,
I used to do more when I was hanging around all my international friends, and I could do any accent, but I just haven't been around them in so long that I just can't do it. But
yeah.
no, what's beautiful about that film, or I should say, what's beautiful, disturbing. It's sort of like a conundrum. It's like we all sort of have that, we're sitting around a campfire or whatever, and we're like, okay, someone gives you $1 million, would you cut off your pinky?
Yeah,
Now,
right.
granted, there was actually a movie made about that. I don't know if you guys know about that, but Quentin Tarantino they were like four directors made a film. It was called Four Rooms with anyway, but that was one of the segments of it. But it was about $1 million. I digress. The idea is
The
that
subject is similar.
yes, the idea is that you're at a campfire. Someone's like, okay, I'll give you $1 million. You have to chop off your toe or whatever it is, and that's like, but it but when in this film, when someone actually offers whatever it was, $1 million or whatever it was, $5 million to have a night with this other person's wife. And it's like, how does okay, the Playboy offers the deal. And then it's like a dramatic thing about like this couple that has to like decide how they want to deal with this. Is it like a no? Or is it like wait? Or is it like, do we
Right?
have a
How much do
down
we need
payment we
this
need
money?
for whatever? Go ahead.
Yeah, yeah. And it's very interesting. It puts into play that question of what would you do for $1 million?
Yeah.
What would you give up for $1 million or for any amount of money? Like what value do you place on things, on relationships? So it's a very interesting uh movie that he's in. It's not like, it's not an Oscar-winning movie. It's not life-changing. It's not alt, but it's a good movie. It's a solid movie if you are looking to put something on. And then I had another, not necessarily honorable mention because we're not doing a ranking list. We're just doing a conversation. But one of my favorite Robert Redford movies is from 2001 called The Last Castle.
Oh, sure, with James Gandolfini.
Yeah, James Gandolfini and Mark Ruffalo.
Oh, Ruffalo.
Yeah, yeah.
A friend of mine knows him actually.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a, who's a really nice guy who's a little bit on the fringe in terms of political, but he's actually a really nice guy. So those the people that on the web that like go after him, it's like, he's actually a really nice guy. He means well. He doesn't, whatever. Anyway, so yeah.
He in this movie, if you haven't seen the movie, Robert Redford is a general that
General, right?
gets,
Yeah.
yeah, a general that gets kicked out and is put in prison. And he realizes that there's a lot of injustices in this prison perpetrated by Gandolfini, who plays this really kind of terrifying uh, prison warden.
Yeah, yeah. Like
And
aside from the guy in Shawshank Redemption, like
that dude, yeah.
Gandolfini, I would not want as my.
No, no, and he plays, if I remember right, he's got like I think he has like a sword from the Civil War in his warden office, or he's got some sort of
Something like
like,
that. Yeah, yeah.
or like, I don't think it's Nazi paraphernalia, but he's got something in his office, some kind of like memorabilia that you're like, this is not a good dude. And but basically the movie, Robert Redford organizes kind of like a prison union, and they're like trying to like rebel against Gandolfini's character,
Hmm.
and Ruffalo's involved, and it is such a good movie for one of those movies that like flies under the radar. There's a lot of movies, and that movie on IMDb, I think it has like a 6.1, and I don't like IMDb, I don't like ratings. I like, watching something and deciding for myself. But IMDb does have a good like Uh, if something on IMDb is like an 8 or a 9, I know it's good. It's without a shadow of doubt good. If something's a
Well,
7,
I don't know. There's some Marvel movies and like, whatever, they're like way up there just because they have all the fans that are like jumping on there and
but I still contend that if it's an 8 or a 9, it's at least good. If it's a 7, it's it's probably a solid film, but it's not going to win Oscars. If it's a 6, it's completely up to you. It could be your favorite movie. It could be bad. If it's 5 or less, it's a terrible movie and there's no silver lining.
no, that's not true. Although, okay, well, let's agree to do a pod about 5.0 or less movies that are phenomenal and IMDb is completely wrong.
I'm with it. I'm with
Okay.
it. Let's do that. Let's do
Yeah.
that. Yeah, okay. Because there are some 5s that I love.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, so this is one of those 6s that flies under the radar. I think maybe just time it came out. I think when this movie came out, I don't think Sopranos was big yet. I think it had just started. So
Well, I'm not sure.
Gandolfini was not really popping yet as like a household name. Robert Redford is Robert Redford, but like at that time I don't think he had any like big movies out. So like and then, Ruffalo was a nobody at that point.
Right.
It like completely because this came out in 2001. Sopranos started in 99, so yeah, 2 years after Sopranos started. So
Yeah.
like it's just picking up its heat, but Gandolfini's not like Gandolfini yet. So like had this movie came out like even a year later, who
Yeah.
knows? But I love it. It's one of my favorite Robert Redford movies and one of my favorite Gandolfini projects because he didn't do a lot, but what he did do was pretty cool. We could probably do a pod on Gandolfini too.
Yeah, he did less than well, obviously he died relatively young. And he didn't have as long of a film career as he definitely would have, because obviously Sopranos ended at what, 2007, 8, something like whatever it was. He
Yeah.
he was, maybe in his mid 50s or whatever it was, and he could have had another 20, 30, 40 years of like making films or even, shows or whatever. Um, I want to give a little bit of a shout out to a few films that I'm not going to get deep into, but for the Robert Redford retrospective, one of the films that was it was before my time even, but it was considered possibly one of the best romance films of all time, which is The Way We Were with Barbara
Mm,
Streisand.
okay.
And it's just like, you know, again, it's before my time, and I want to just give it a little bit, like, give it some flowers, as they say. And also a film that was sort of really important in its time. I don't know if you've had a chance to see it. It's called All the President's Men with Dustin Hoffman.
I have not seen it yet. It's on my list, but that's about
Yeah,
the
it's a
Nixon
political
trials,
thriller,
right?
you know.
Yeah, the Nixon issues, right?
Yeah, but it had this amazing cast with like Jason Robard,
Robarth?
Robard,
Yeah,
well, whatever his name is. Jason Robards, Hal Holbrook.
love that.
He's so good. Ned Beatty, F. Murray
F. Murray
Abraham.
Abrams.
Yeah, yeah. So it was like this great political thriller about these two, guys that were trying to break a story in the newsroom, and back when people used to break stories in the newsroom instead of trying to be on the news and be the news. Um, which, by the way, and I'm not going to get political, but like I just wish reporters, not, if you run a show, that's fine. But like actual reporters, like go out and do the news and report stuff and find stories. Like that's what we want to see. But anyway,
There's yeah, no investigative journalists
no, there was just,
anymore.
and there's a few, of course, but like, so everyone wants to get on the camera so that they can maybe get a segment on some other person's news show, and then maybe in the hopes that they one day have their own news show and make a ton of money. So it's like they don't want to be a reporter. It used to be a reporter used to be like, a guy in a tie, and it was kind of like pulled down. You have a, you have a colored shirt on. You have to go and you figure out the stuff, and there's just none of that anymore. Another film that I want to talk about before I get to one of my favorite films of all time is a small film, and I don't know if you've seen it. And I don't judge anyone who hasn't seen it because it was a small film. It's called Sneakers. So basically, Robert Redford plays a guy who is a part of a team who infiltrates networks. So someone who has a big company is like, he contacts Redford and he's like, hey, how good is our security? So
Oh,
yeah, so Redford has his little specialist that he works with, like six, seven, eight different guys. But the cast list, and I wrote it down: Sidney Poitier, Dan Aykroyd, River Phoenix, David Statham, and also in the film is Ben Kingsley, James Earl Jones, and Mary McDonnell.
well, I'm gonna watch this movie almost immediately.
It is fantastic.
What a
It's not a
cast!
it's not a giant film. It's not a thing that you're gonna watch and walk away going like I just
Timothy
watched.
Busfield's in that movie.
Who's
Let's
that?
go. Timothy Busfield?
Yeah,
He he plays Danny in West Wing.
yeah, yeah. There's
Okay.
just it's such a great obviously it's a great cast. Everyone is like, "Hey, Robert Redford's making a film. Would you like to be in it?" And everyone's like, "Yes, yes, I would like to like do that." Like, of course,
I
we're
love
doing
how
all that.
I love how Robert Redford and Sidney Poitier were in a movie and no one talks about it.
Yeah, yeah. And it's it's a
Because that's a podcast too. No one talks about
it's
Sidney
such a
Poitier
very
enough.
good film. It's not like we're reshaping the world film. It's just like a great small film.
Okay.
And there's Dan Aykroyd. There's a lot of humor. There's a lot. River Phoenix, one of the last films he did before he died. A lot of like humor. There's no big action. It's just
I have
the
a
back and forth between Sidney Poitier and everybody else is like Poitier is like he's like sort of like I don't. It's been a long time since I've seen it, but he basically plays like the straight guy, not straight meaning gender, but like he's like the guy who's like the rigid cop
the
sort of
up
guy.
and up.
Yeah. And like River Phoenix is like a hacker or whatever he is, and Portier is like, what are you doing? What are you doing this? And the River's like, oh, I'm doing it this way, and it's like a mix of different generations, and it's just a really fun film for people who would just like to watch a fun film. It's probably PG. I can't even imagine if it's PG-13. I don't even remember the swear words or anything bad in it. Just like it's a nice film.
Sneakers. It
Was it
it
like 80?
is.
No, that's probably
It's rated PG 1992.
92. Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah.
It was probably one of Poitier's last films because I think he didn't. I think his last film was like 2001, maybe.
Yeah, he stopped doing around like mid 90s and then kind of yeah.
Yeah, his. Oh, interesting. One of his last films was 97. He did. It was a TV movie, Mandela and de Klerk, and it was him and Michael Caine as F.W. de Klerk,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
which is interesting.
Yeah, we'll talk about Michael Caine at length and on a different something or
I
other.
think, and Sidney Poitier. I think he
Yeah,
deserves
yeah,
his own
yeah,
pod.
for
That
sure.
dude's incredible. One movie I wanted to highlight before we get to the best Robert Redford movie of all time is one of my favorite Robert Redford movies, but also I think just one of my favorite little movies. I say this a movie, not a film. I think there's a difference to me. To me, a movie is
I
like
I
you
agree.
pop some popcorn and it's like this is nice. This is a good movie.
Hmm.
A film is like I need to watch that
I
five
need to
times to
watch it and
dissect what
think about it a
happened.
little bit and the whole thing.
Yes,
Yeah, yeah.
yes. But this is one of my favorite Robert Redford movies. It's called The Old Man and the Gun, and
Yeah.
it just came out in 2018.
I
It's
think
one of his last.
I think that was his last film.
It's it's his last film. It's one of his last films as a leading actor. I think he did a Netflix film after that, and he had a small role in one of the Avengers movies, but it was like a blink and you miss it kind of thing. But this movie is because he passed away. This movie is like it's based on a true story, so it's not like it's like actually how it happened, but like the end of the movie, if you haven't seen it, go watch it, pause the podcast, come back. But the end of the movie is he like just rides off on a horse in a sunset. And like and
Perfect.
that when I finished the movie, I was like, he's still alive, but that's his way to go. And when he passed away, I instantly thought of that shot of him just riding a horse over the hill. And it's if you haven't seen it, it's a David Lowery film, and he's amazing. He did The Green Knight. He's done some Star Wars directing. He's done a couple other things here and there. But he's a really good younger director. It's got Casey Affleck. It's got Danny Glover. It's got Sissy Spacek.
That's a
And
great cast.
yeah, Danny Glover, Sissy Spacek, and it's got John David Washington. And so it's a really great movie. It flew under the radar. A lot of people just missed it. I thought he was going to get nominated. I think he got a Golden Globe nomination for it, if I'm not mistaken, but no Oscars, nothing. It's a true story about a man who breaks out of prison to rob banks with the purpose of just doing it because he's an old man and he wants to just do something with his life. And and he's like
It's a great concept.
it's a great concept. And the best part is that he like robs banks with a smile. He's like a gentlemanly guy. He walks into a bank and he's like in a bag, he's got a gun, but he just like, I have a gun. I don't really want to use it. I'd love if you just give me the money.
Well,
And they do, because he's an old man.
that's the thing about his character for the 7, 8 decades or whatever the heck it was. Just brief, I can't do it. The brief little smile he does, where it's just like a little,
Yeah.
he just has a little bit, and he just like, he doesn't do a giant.
He has sheer charisma.
Yeah,
Just Robert Redford was a smooth criminal. That dude was a smooth criminal. And in any movie, he was just that guy. You're like, how? Like Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, he pulls off a mustache that no one should wear.
yeah, you're right. Yeah,
No one
yeah,
should wear. And he
yeah.
does it.
And all
And
he
in
has to do,
every,
in Jeremiah Johnson, it's this guy who's like this big mop of hair and this giant beard, and all he does is like, and
and
he's
if
like
you're,
a,
and if you're looking at, and if you're looking, we didn't mention it, but it's the best Marvel movie in my opinion. He's in Captain America: The
yeah,
Winter
that's a great,
Soldier,
great film.
and and when I watched that movie, I was like, "Let's go, Robert Redford,
Yeah,
yes sir." And then I'm like rooting for him the whole time. I'm like, "Let's go!" And then you find out he's the bad guy,
yeah,
and you're like, this dude's charisma is so good. I forgot that like he's probably not a dude I should trust. And then like I'm like, no, like he's so good.
yeah,
My gosh, man,
yeah,
what a dude. His charisma's unmatched. It's just you can't. Oh my gosh. Or should
yeah.
we talk?
Yeah, I think we have to.
Should we talk about the
Yeah, we
best
gotta.
Robert Redford movie?
Like one of my like, yeah, obviously Noah's talking about this and alluding to it and the whole thing, and of course, like one of my favorite films of all time, and I think probably a top five sports film of all time. You could argue it's number one. I don't care, whatever. It's top five, up there with Rocky and whatever. But like, you can't you can't not think about Robert Redford and not think about The Natural.
It's like Rocky, Rudy, The Natural, and Hoosiers. There's your list right
Yeah,
there.
there's the four, and then we could argue about the fifth. Yeah, it's like yeah, and like yeah, you could argue on the fringe a little bit, but you can't argue about like the top three.
Yeah.
And it's like you have a guy who if you haven't seen The Natural, either one, you don't care about film, or two, you don't like watching sports films, or three, you think here's the key. You think you don't like watching sports films, so you haven't watched the
Mm.
ones that matter.
Haven't watched The Natural.
You haven't watched The Natural. It takes place in the 1930s, 40s, somewhere in there. A guy who a young guy who had everything going for him as a baseball player, and he something happened to him, and his life was derailed, and then he came back 15, 20 years later to try and make it again as a rookie, as about the time, as they say in the film, you should be retired. What are you doing here? And it's a magical, magical film with just some of the best acting and some of the, like we talked in one of the last pods about the amazing music in it. all the character actors that are in it, from Wilford Brimley to Michael Madsen to
Diabetes.
Kim Basinger to, Red Farnsworth. It's just this amazing cast that came together to create this. There are movies that like they start and then they finish, and there's a movies that like start and they build, and then the finish to the film is like you
Mm.
feel a rush, you get all the goosebumps. Yeah, and like the lights coming down and the flashes and the stuff,
So
and you're like, oh my god, I just had an experience. It wasn't a movie, it was an experience,
yeah,
and that is The Natural.
so good, and he has charisma in that too.
Yeah, yeah,
He has charisma
uh,
in that too.
yeah. And Wilford Brimley,
Wolf,
Judy Brimley,
diabetes.
diabetes,
Have you seen
and
those commercials?
I'm
I grew
choking to
up.
death.
If you don't know
Like
Wilford
taking a drink out
Brimley,
of the fountain.
if you're my age, you've probably seen the commercial. Wilford Brimley is the diabetes guy, and he's been in several memes. And so when I grew up and I would watch TV Land because I loved westerns, and they'd have after school. I had the best lineup ever. I had Gunsmoke into Bonanza, and I would watch. And when they cut to commercials, they thought elderly people were watching, so it was always like health infomercials. And Wilford Brimley was always on. He was like, "Do you have diabetes?" He's just like, I think I'm like 10. I'm like, I don't know, Wilfred, do I have diabetes? What's going on? He just said it with such conviction. Diabetes.
And what's crazy is that, and obviously this gets us away from the whole you know reverence of the movie, but 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 Wilford Brimley, he was in a lot of films, and he was in a big famous film called Cocoon and Cocoon 2, where it was like elderly people in a rest home who found like the spring of eternal life or whatever. But like I didn't realize it until I was like an adult that Brimley, who was in the film, and he was, oh, by the way, Wilford Brimley, who was in The Thing.
Yes, the thing.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a whole. We'll talk about that in the winter, because I think that's like we need to do like a winter, like dark winter, like kind of like horror podcast. So like, well, not in the fall, but in the winter time.
Yeah, I like
Um,
that idea.
but yeah, but anyway, I found out that when Brimley was like acting like he's in like a retirement home, he was actually only like 40 something years old. But like back in the 80s, they just, I don't know if they didn't take care of themselves or whatever, but like they looked like they should be in a retirement home, and they were like in the 40s.
Also on the getting back to Robert Redford, we are talking about his charisma. He had so much charisma. Yeah, the Riz. He had so much Riz, as the kids say, that he played Great Gatsby. He played Jay Gatsby.
Yeah,
And we didn't even talk about that, but they
which is the best version of The Great Gatsby that's ever been filmed.
yes. And they were like, who has the most Riz on the planet? That guy. Robert Redford's gonna
Yeah,
be Gatsby. Like you have to have Riz if you're Gatsby. Like
Gatsby.
I don't like Baz Luhrmann, and so I hated the remake. However, and I don't like Leo either, but for the kind of people that like Leo, he makes sense for that role, for that like time period. Like all the people that liked Leo when that movie came out, like he had the Riz. Like that's so like when they made the first one, they're like, who has the Riz? Robert
Or
Redford's got
even
the
or
Riz.
even we haven't talked about this. Out of Africa
Well, that was where I was going next.
with
Out of Africa.
Meryl.
Meryl Streep. Yeah. Also, can we talk about what like a goated run of working with the best female actresses on the planet this dude went on?
I think he had his
Like
choice. I think that's, or they had
the
their choice
only
over
thing
him. One of the way.
the only thing I wish, and ages wise didn't really line up, but like they could have done something, but maybe not a love interest, but like I'm really sad that he didn't get to work with Viola Davis.
Oh, yeah, I hadn't thought of that.
Because Viola Davis, for my money, is the best actress working right now. But man, the two of them could have been something special. I love that. But man, Sissy Spacek, Meryl Streep.
From the 60s to like
Yeah.
he
What
just
what did we say? Did
yeah
we came up with 8 different decades he worked through?
yeah yeah, and it's crazy because like you have a guy that like you think of like yeah he's like a Hollywood icon, but it's like oh, wait, let me count up the decades. Not just like he was doing little bit parts for 20 years and then he had like
Right.
10 years of
Right.
like a heyday. It was like boom, I'm here in the 60s
And
and
then
then he's
then
like
he's
relevant in 2019.
Barbara Streisand and Demi Moore and Meryl Streep. Like they were like, he's got the riz. We gotta line him up with all the ladies.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. No, that dude, yeah. Like, I mean, we all know that there's an end to everything and we have to accept it as part of life and the whole thing. And all we can do is like, just reflect and celebrate what someone has done in their life and the whole thing. And I don't, especially with like, Hollywood and all that kind of stuff. Like, we don't really know about the personal life, and that's not really important really because like what we all try and do like when you're a writer or an actor or whatever it is
comedian.
you're trying to you know you're trying to change that person's day, make it better, make them laugh, you
Add
know
some introspect.
yeah. And so in that regard, like I don't know anything about like his personal life really much at all, but like he really took an effort to really like give us these great roles and these films that change our lives to some degree and make me think about things and you know and so yeah, that's where like every time like now that it when I was younger I could when you watch the Oscars and they have like the who's passed on and you might know one or two, and then as you get older, it's like more of them and more of them. And granted, some of them are like an assistant photographer, and you're like, okay, okay,
He
I don't.
was the ladder guy, and you're like, what? They have a ladder guy?
But like, so a little bit more of them as the years goes on. Because Philip Seymour
Yeah.
Hoffman and Heath
Hmm.
Ledger, and it's like
Yeah.
you get sad, but at the same time, you're like, okay, well, they, regardless of their personal life, they put a lot of work into creating something for the rest of us.
That subject, I think a good podcast might be a Gone Too Soon episode, just highlighting
Yeah,
the
let me write that
actors,
down.
some of the actors that maybe who knows what they'd be doing now, but they passed away way too soon.
Yeah, and we could even do we could even maybe do like a retrospective, generally, uh, yearly.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Looking back,
Like obviously we'll do the ones like Redford. Like it's just there's so much to talk about. We got to do a full pod
whole
about them. But
pod, but there's some that should be highlighted, but maybe we don't have time to do like a whole pod just on
yeah,
them. Yeah.
um, well, okay, so let's I feel like we've really we've gone over a lot of stuff with his career. So let's maybe tie up the pod by doing I'm saying a lot so you can edit that out. What are you looking forward to watching recently? Or what do you, let me say that again. What
You're
are
good.
you what are you looking forward to watching coming up?
There is a movie out right now in theaters called One Battle After Another. It's a Paul Thomas Anderson film with Benicio del Toro and Sean Penn and Leonardo DiCaprio, who I don't love, but in recent years has been putting out better projects than before. I don't know. Leo's interesting to me, and we can do a whole pod on maybe how we don't like Leo because I think we share
I
that.
was about to say that's an hour of my life I'll never get back.
We could do a whole podcast on how he's overrated, but I think why his movies I've been enjoying more lately because he's never the best guy in his own movies, and when I like the other people, I like his role. There's a lot of movies I don't like because I don't like the other people that he's around, and I don't think he's the best guy in his own movies.
Did you just have a cat or did you have a ghost in your apartment? What the hell was
It was a
that?
cat. It was a
Okay.
cat. Yeah. Yeah, no. But in this movie, like, there's so many other people that I'm like, oh, I like that guy. Oh, I like that guy. Oh, I like that guy. But this movie, I'm not a huge Paul Thomas Anderson guy. I'm not a huge. It's, all the setups, I should not be excited for this movie. However, every person under the sun says it's incredible. Every person under the sun, it was recorded in VistaVision. They recreated a camera. They remade a camera so that they could film it in VistaVision. And then on top of that, Steven Spielberg said he saw it 6 times.
Yeah, maybe.
I'm just going off of
I
what
got
Steven
okay.
Spielberg
I
said.
gotta I gotta imagine that Spielberg has other things to do than watch a movie 6 times.
He probably does, but if
I
he
hope
liked
he
it that
does because he's
much,
old and he needs to be making these films. He's
he
so
is
good.
making movies. He's making an Alien movie right now,
I
so I'm
think
excited
I
for
think
that. But
I think what's the director's name? Something Anderson, whatever.
Paul Thomas Anderson,
Yeah.
he's
So
pretentious. So
I think he always strikes he gets this press anytime he makes a film and they're always like it's the best thing since blah 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 blah. And I'm like, I think it's just like the New York, LA media that like to overhype his stuff and it never really lives up to what it should be. But we'll see. I haven't
maybe.
seen the film. I don't
But
know.
I'm excited. I'm gonna go see it on Tuesday, and I am looking forward to it just because a couple of my friends I was like, I'm not gonna like this movie. I don't think I will. Everyone's hyping it up. There's no way it's gonna. And everyone has texted me, dude. Not gonna lie, that movie rocks.
I mean,
Not gonna lie, that movie
maybe
is amazing.
DiCaprio is killed off in the film. No, that could be
Yeah,
like look at from a six to a seven. I don't know. Hopefully, it doesn't get us demonetized or D whatever algorithm because,
that's
like I said,
hilarious.
the K word.
That's
I don't
crazy.
want him to have harm. I bid him no ill will.
What are you looking forward to seeing
Well, I'm
soon?
not looking forward to that. Um,
Okay.
I'm actually looking forward to so we're gonna be doing some horror Halloween monster kind of stuff coming up on some
Yeah.
pods, and I just pulled out 6, 7, 8 different horror films from like the 1930s,
Nice.
and I literally set them on my little ottoman right before we decided to do this pod, and I was like, I was gonna watch, and I was like, oh, I was like, because I didn't know, because I couldn't remember how long each one was, but each one's only looked
Yeah.
like an hour 15, an hour 20.
That's the brilliance of the classic horror genre. They're
Yes, you
quick
don't have
to
to
the
sit through
punch.
2.5 hours. Like, oh my
No,
God, like I
no,
don't need the backstory of them, every single mummy that's in the film and the whole thing.
no,
So
no.
it's like Frankenstein, The Bride of Frankenstein, The Wolfman.
Like I watched a movie recently. It was a horror movie that everyone was like, "This is amazing." It's called Weapons, and it was not amazing. That was my quick review of it. But it was 2 hours and 8 minutes, and it was way longer than it needed to be. It just yeah.
It's like
Horror films should be an hour and a half
hour and a
tops.
half comedies, hour and 20 to hour 30.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
don't
yeah,
need
yeah.
over 2 hours because
No,
then they're like just
no.
like all you have to do is look to the 1980s and early 90s where you had like the best comedies and they were like succinct. They even had drama. They had some emotion. They had all the stuff. And it's just like an hour and a half. You didn't need
Like
any more.
one of the greatest comedies ever is called Duck Soup, and it's a Marx Brothers movie, and it's only an hour and 9 minutes. Like, hold up, what's their other one? Night of the Opera. What is that? The
Yeah,
opera.
hour and 15.
This is probably yeah, it's an hour and 36. Like
Okay.
that's
Yeah.
all you need. That's all
Yep.
you need. You
You
don't
don't need
need
anything more than that.
anything more than that. No.
Yeah. To answer your question, I'm not looking forward to the movie you're talking about, but I'm actually looking forward to. I actually ran across. I got a hold of the I believe it's the Basil Rathbone acted show of Sherlock Holmes.
Okay.
So he did. I guess there's something like 70 or 80 stories or whatever from Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, and he filmed 40 something of them. And so I got the box set, and I'm looking forward because I've never watched any of them. And people say he's the best, aside from Benedict Cumberbatch or whatever his name is. How do you pronounce it?
Run.
Cumberbund, Cumberbatch,
No. Come. I say Cumberbatch.
Yeah, I would say what
I
the
know
the women
Cumberbatch.
that follow him their name is, but I think that would be maybe be bleeped out of our podcast.
Too vulgar.
Yeah, yeah. No, but they say he's the best Sherlock Holmes has ever been. I don't know. I love Benedict. I
Okay.
love Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah.
So
So
I'm
it'd be
looking forward
interesting to
to
see.
watching
And
that.
that's a TV show?
I don't know if it
Or
was
it's
like
like a mini
made or made
series?
for TV, maybe for the BBC.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Um,
What year? What years?
I think from like the late 70s to like the early 90s.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So,
Heck yeah.
so I'm looking forward to that. And yeah, so that's all I got.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah. Um, yeah. So everybody, thank you for joining us here. If you could
Thanks for hanging
like
out.
and subscribe, that would be amazing because we're just kind of starting off in this whole journey here. And, we'd like to just bring you along with us as we're like discovering film and talking about it. And that would be amazing.
Yeah, come watch some movies with us.